Proposed tax levy, Cincinnati City School District, issue 44. The proposed new property tax levy request is for 7.93 mills for a period of 5 years for Cincinnati Public Schools. If it passes, it will cost the owner of a $100,000 home an additional $278 per year. It would be used for preschool expansion as well as strengthening neighborhood schools. The levy was put on the ballot by the Cincinnati Public Schools Board of Education. The proposal is a cooperative effort by Cincinnati Public Schools and Cincinnati Preschool Promise. A majority yes vote is necessary for passage. Eve Bolton is here to present in favor of the levy. Ms. Bolton is a native Cincinnatian and a proud graduate of Cincinnati Public Schools. She is currently serving the first year of her third term on the Cincinnati Public School Board. During her 9 years on the board, Eve has held the positions of President, Vice President, and Finance and Student Achievement Committee chairs. Eve, you have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank you. If you'll forgive me, because it's the league, I want to be completely correct. So I'm going to read from a speech, if you don't mind. It's not usually my style, but I know you will hold me accountable. Thanks for inviting me to make the case for ballot issue 44. First, keep in mind, CPS is larger than the city of Cincinnati, something we tend to forget, so just keep that in mind. First, it has been 8 years since CPS has had new local revenue. Not since President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton competed in a Democratic primary have we had new local money, so that's 8 years. And neither have federal funds nor state money in recent years kept pace with the cost of doing business. Fortunately, even with flat revenue, we have been able to meet the district's growing needs, our community's demands, and initiate our board's commitment to equity and excellence in education through educating the whole child. It's been a remarkable decade at CPS. We are Ohio's top urban district. We are the only large urban district this side of the Mississippi to completely rebuild all of its facilities. As part of that facilities master plan, we promised the community we would embed community learning centers. Already now, we have 44 of our 55 schools with full-fledged community learning centers. We literally lead the world in community learning centers. CPS has 24 school-based health centers, which is more than all of Ohio's school districts combined. At all 55 of our schools, both private and public mental health services are available. We are at the leading edge of child health services. In nutrition, we are among the nation's leaders and have been commended by the U.S. Agriculture Department for our food choice, food availability in and out of school. We do free breakfast and free lunch for most of our children. Transportation services, be they yellow bus or metro, are free to all of our students because we have made a priority to get our children to school and not have our families figure out on Sunday night or Saturday afternoon, will I use the quarters for a school bus or will I use it for the laundromat? It's important to get the children there. We do not have extensive pay to play because majority of our children would not be able to afford to pay to play in extracurricular. All of our 102 preschool classes for our nearly 1,600 preschoolers are 5-star rated or will be when the state finishes its rating reviews at the end of this year. We are the #1 provider of preschool in the region and have been for 50 years. Over the last 3 years since the third grade reading guarantee, 97% of our third graders have been judged promotable via state testing. Every one of our 15 high schools have dual enrollment and at least 5 available advanced placement courses. Every one of our high school students now at our expense takes the ACT. Our ACT scores have now reached the national ACT composite average, still too low, but trending upward, especially considering it's 100% participation. Our graduation rate has risen to 74% from 64% in the last 5 years. Every one of our 55 schools has art and music in their course of study. We know the community has recognized our success because we now have 35,000 students. The state of Ohio had predicted that by this time we would have only 28,000 students. Our community is coming home to CPS. Just last year, 600 students left local charters and joined CPS. Our community is embracing CPS and making demands, and helping us envision CPS's next decade by choosing the following Levy priorities: reducing the city's digital divide through increased use and availability of technology at school and at home, preparing our students to be college-bound and career-ready, continuing to improve our essential services and serve our ever-increasing enrollment, accelerating in kindergarten readiness through increasing the number of quality preschool availability and spreading it geographically. And our centerpiece, our community's top priority, reinvigorating our neighborhood schools. But continuing our accelerated success and meeting community demands is not possible without new local revenue. Therefore, recognizing our statutory responsibility to financially provide for the education and services for all of the district's children, we are requesting, as was mentioned, an emergency levy of $7.93 million, which will generate, as mentioned, $48 million annually for 5 years. In order to help us determine the size and the length of our levy, what we did is hire, not us, but the CBC hired a subsidiary of Ernst & Young to figure out our books and our financial plan. Upon completion of the review, Parthenon complemented the district's fiscal and financial performance, verified our need for new revenue, and suggested a millage and dollar amount as well as the levy's length. Their recommendation fell within the range of our own professionals' advice. $33 million, or 2/3 of the $48 million generated annually, will be used exclusively by CPS for the priorities we've just mentioned. The other $15 million, or 1/3 of the 48, will be used in a historic partnership between CPS and Preschool Promise. We believe that partnership will increase the number of children who are kindergarten ready by increasing the number of quality seats in CPS and at community sites, as well as access to them. Over the next 5 years, we will increase the number of quality providers as well. As a community priority, access to quality preschool has been a long-term commitment in Cincinnati. United Way, Success by Six, 4C for Children, the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, the Faith Community, and the Leadership Cincinnati, each and all, have been working on kindergarten readiness and preschool access long before Preschool Promise began in 2013. Frankly, the CPS and Preschool Promise partnership is just the newest chapter in providing access to quality preschool. We know CPS alone cannot meet either the full preschool demand nor provide the wide range of choices demanded by our community. So after more than a year of discussion and research and some battling, we have formed a partnership with Cincinnati Preschool Promise. This is how it will work. As the taxing agent, CPS will collect all $48 million annually. Of that $48 million, $15 will be earmarked for preschool funds for both CPS and other providers. The $15 million will be placed in a separate CPS line item, readily reviewable and monitored by the public. This $15 million will be used in two major ways. Most of the money will be spent per student subsidies and paid to only 3-star or better rated quality preschool providers. CPS will keep the subsidy dollars for the number of its CPS students that qualify. The remainder will be transferred to United Way in order to be distributed to the 3-star rated community providers. As it currently is designed, the students that qualify will be 4-year-olds and some targeted 3-year-olds at 200% poverty. After the subsidy dollars have been determined and dispersed, the remaining dollars will be spent on provider quality grants in order to increase the number of quality providers. And there's a whole list of how you do that, and it's determined by the state. It's called Step Up to Quality, as many of you know. Additionally, it's been determined that these preschool levy dollars will be the last dollars in on each child. For example, if a child or their family has other public subsidies toward their education, these new preschool dollars will be adjusted to reflect those other dollars. The dispersal of all funds at CPS or by United Way will be in accordance with state law. CPS financial parameters, best accounting practices within rules and procedures required by Ohio's open records and open meetings laws. Additional relevant CPS board policies regarding minority and female local contracting will all be part of what we do. Because the school board is authorized taxing agent, the school board will hold all parties accountable, and the public can hold the school board accountable. Quarterly, United Way will report to the CPS school board in open session. The board will contract and publish an annual audit of all CPS and community preschool monies. Why must this happen now? Very simply, in their infinite wisdom, the state has passed another unfunded mandate. What's going to happen is that the state of Ohio has mandated that with target dates of 2020 and 2025, no state dollars will be given to unrated preschool providers. It will take us that long to create, increase, and improve the number of quality seats and providers in our district. The timing is crucial. We have made our levy determination based on the best possible research, the community priorities, and Cincinnati's faith in the future. We would appreciate your support. It's for the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowden. What questions do we now have from the audience? Are there any questions that anyone has for Ms. Bowden concerning the levy?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I just have some questions about the process. I see here that this is called, the title of the issue is providing for the, and I quote, emergency requirements of the school district. Yet what you have described to me is not emergency in the most fundamental ways. It's the foundation of our program that should be ongoing. This issue is for 5 years. What guarantee does the citizen taxpayer have that the monies that will be in this tax levies will indeed be spent as you have described? I don't see it here written in the levy, so where in the process is there accountability for the exact expenditures of all this money?
Several answers to that. The word emergency is required by the state when you put a limit of the number of years that a levy exists. So it has nothing to do with like the house is on fire. And we have found that in Cincinnati, as you can well imagine, people don't like to give you a permanent levy, which would be our choice. So the accountability happens at the ballot box, but more particularly because in this effort, we don't view the collection of the money, because we're the taxing agent duly authorized, we have not looked at this as being we'll collect the money and then grant it to United Way. That's not going to happen. Those are all public dollars. So the accountability is not only at the ballot box, but it will be through, as I mentioned, an annual audit, quarterly appearances by United Way, and by operating under all of the policies of not only the CPS school board, but more particularly operating under the open records, open meetings requirements by the state of Ohio. Another way to assure that quality is, of course, our budget process, but more particularly isolating those $15 million particularly. For the other $33 million, the school board meets every single week in public session. We have every other Monday, we meet at night for our business efforts where we can vote on things, and every other Wednesday we vote and we meet in the committee of the whole. Every single one of those meetings, it's conducted in public, is also a matter of minutes that are supplied publicly. So of all the organizations that are elected, I think we are probably the most transparent. The other way you can do it is that so much of the budgeting for Cincinnati Public and our efforts really are per student measurements. And so the reality for us is, I won't say it's easy to follow whether or not we're spending in the right priorities, but we've also said in some of our literature, this is how much money each of those $33 million will be spent in the various categories. So I hope that begins to answer some of the accountability issue. And you're looking at me like it doesn't.
Well, it's still in the hands of those who decide on the budget what they're going to do with this money. And if something comes up in year 2 that you decide to target or focus on something else that's not listed here, there's no control over that. It's the good faith of the citizens of the budgeting process of the school board to make those right decisions.
In part, that's true for the 33 million, but we have 35,000 children and many, many families and all kinds of other relationships that kind of keep our feet to the fire. The other piece of it is, keep in mind, the other 33 million, the 15 million, keep in mind you're also going to have all those public providers and private providers at our door, making sure that that money is watched carefully and spent as was promised on subsidy per family to the providers and also to increase the quality providers.
Maybe time for one quick question. We're actually, that was practically 5 minutes, so. Okay. Hello. I had a couple questions. So does United Way receive any of the funding for being the agency that it's kind of, I don't know, granted to or passed to kind of filter out? And then also, are there any plans to expand this beyond the city of Cincinnati?
There are no plans to expand it beyond the district, because so that could be a number of other communities. But we're the taxing agent, so it stays within the district. That's larger than the city. Second of all, the United Way has said their administrative costs initially and through those 5 years will be about $200,000. Much of that $200,000 is money they already give to CPS, and we're kind of thinking that's how they're tabulating it, but that's our understanding. So one over there still.
Maybe one more quick question on the CPS levy.
My question is, as a resident of Hamilton County, CPS is not in, I didn't think it was in my district, so how do you vote? How do you vote for something? You're a resident of Hamilton County, but Cincinnati School District, I didn't think was part of the suburb.
It depends where you live. There are about 10 parts. There are about parts of 10 different communities that are part of CPS. Cheviot, Amberley Village, Gulf Manor would be some, and parts of Delhi Township, Green Township, all of Columbia Township. And so it's a matter of if you've been listed as, or your realtor card says you're in the CPS district, you are. But if you're not in that district, you cannot vote for us. But we'd love it if you're going to vote for us if you would like to move. We can. We'll be happy to find a place.
It won't be on your ballot. And then you're pulling up your ballot for your residential address where you live. It will be on there if you can vote on that issue or not. Okay.
Thank you.